Welcome to 15K Plus Random Movie Reviews, where we take random movies from Metacritic's 15K Plus movies to randomly watch, whether we like it or not. Hello and welcome to episode 20 of 15K Plus Random Movie Reviews. This is Colin.
And this is Niall.
And this is random movie number 70. It's a movie called, well, it's a mini movie called Lovers Rock. It's from a series called Small Axe, released on BBC first and foremost, and then on Amazon Prime later. Now, if you are committed listeners to our program, you'll have already noticed that it's not movie 120, which is called Past Lives. And we just figured out after we finished that last episode that this isn't even released in our area yet or streaming, so we could not watch it. So there were many faxes sent back and forth and telegrams, and so we decided to roll again, and this is what we got. So I think if we got Shawshank Redemption, I think he wouldn't trust us anymore. So this was authentic roll, and we got this random kind of bizarre sort of 68-minute movie. And it's up there. Number
movie
20.
That isn't really a movie, but is a movie. I think it's 5 episodes. 5 episodes, yeah. Small Axe, as you said, on the BBC, directed by Mr. Steve McQueen. Not the Steve McQueen that died in 1980, because that would be weird. But a Steve McQueen from London, who has got some. Well, he's got an Oscar to his name, so he's no small chap on this one.
No, and you can tell it's slickly produced, it's slickly directed, it's quite layered texturally with the visuals and the sound as well. Yeah, of course, he directed 12 Years a Slave and Hunger, which is relevant.
Fassbender, yeah.
Yeah. This was released in November 2020 on BBC One, so it's been out for a while. It's been pretty lauded by critics. It's had 25 wins and 86 nominations for awards. I didn't go into all of them, but it's pretty well loved. It has a Metascore of 95, but a user score of 5.9, and I think I'll dip into a couple of the user scores just to see what people think of it in comparison to the Metascore of 95. The plot doesn't really exist, and maybe, Niall, you can describe why it doesn't exist.
Well, the plot to me is a day in the life of a, late teens, early 20s girl who's sneaking out of her house to go to a house party, to a Lovers Rock house party. Lovers Rock being a style of reggae, which is a bit more romantic than the standard upbeat beats per minute type reggae stuff. That's pretty much it. Stuff happens. There is a bit of an arc to it. She goes out with her friend. Bad stuff happens halfway through. And then good things happen. But, it's one night and it's not as interesting a story as you might think. It's more of a, as we were talking about earlier, it's more of a snapshot in the time. It describes a musical movement. It describes a culture at the time in London. So it is interesting, but there ain't no plot.
Yeah, I agree. It is actually interesting to watch. It's 68 minutes. It feels a little longer, I think.
Yeah, there's a reason why it feels long, and we can probably get into those. And there's a couple of pieces that were needlessly extended. We'll talk about it in a minute when we get to it, but
silly
it could
games.
Have been 20. Yeah. Why? 10 minutes of that. Why?
It was quite cool, but then it's repeated 3 times, I think.
3 times, yeah. And, halfway through the second time, you're like, okay, I get it. Stop.
Yeah. Well, the movie starts off, I think, I was like, okay, so they're obviously setting up for a party. It's a girl's birthday party. And I think I realized it wasn't really going to be much of a plot to it, because it really took its time showing you the intricacies of setting up an amp and moving in some music equipment.
Yeah,
and you
splicing the wires.
Yeah,
stuff you don't need to see, really. Kind of filler, but not completely pointless as well, though. Like while they're moving the amps, there is a bit of a backdrop exposed in that they're emptying a truck or a van with the amps out into the house, and in the background there's a few lads looking on with the stain in their eyes, possibly because they're white lads and these are Jamaican descent, and they don't particularly like them in their area for some reason.
Yeah, it's kind of showing the era and the times that they're in.
Yeah, and there was substantial tension in London at the time, early 80s, late 70s.
Oh, yeah. I kind of look back on it now, and I understand that it's not meant to be a plot-driven movie. And now that I look back on those, the cables being plugged into the amp and the microphone being set up and the DJ doing some solo riffing on his own.
Yeah.
It adds to the texture of the movie. Does it have a plot? No.
But it's a very visual, a very obviously sound based, and there's almost a smell to it. Like the scene in the kitchen where they're cooking up this goat curry. Food looks amazing. You can almost taste it. It's, as you say, the plot's not that important to it. It's more about the feeling of what's going on.
Yeah, and I think talking about it now kind of makes me appreciate it more. My attention drifted a couple of times, but I think we have to look at it as a movie that isn't a movie. It's a sort of a sensual, oral and aural.
You're making it sound dirty here now.
Visual, all the Ewells.
All the Ewells, Yule Brenner.
There's I even just noted down the wallpaper and the carpet. It's all very 70s. Everything's 70s.
There's a whole big bag of nostalgia with this.
Yeah, and we shift from the DJ setting up to the two friends sitting outside on the swing, waiting for the bus, running for the bus to get to the Lovers Rock party. And it's just even the conductor on the bus. I remember a conductor being on the bus going out towards the Cooley Peninsula. I remember that little. I remember the metal chrome of the machine and
I do as well.
The twirly handle.
That's not last week.
No, that was early 80s probably. And that was
that's when it died out.
It died out, but it actually was very well done, and she's all very in a party mood, and this comes back later in the movie. But she sees a man carrying a cross, and she
a bit of a double take, as you would.
A bit of a double take, but it also makes her reflect. She's skipping out of her bedroom window, and the whole movie ends with her climbing back in, and the minute she touches her head on the pillow, her mother shouts, "Time for church!" And so it's like,
I've kind of been there. I can associate with that, but and there was at the very last scene before that, there's a man picking up his cross again, the same man. Just as they're heading home from the party.
Yeah, packing up the party packing up the cross as they pack up the. He was putting it together, wasn't he? He was putting it.
Yeah, he was folding it back out, which was kind of freaky.
Because they were finishing up their partying, and he was just getting up to commit himself to Jesus. I guess that's the message that's happening there. It's the kind of changing of the guard from naughtiness during the night to servitude during the day or something.
Right. Off the mass.
Off the mass, yeah. She'll probably see that guy with the cross in church, probably.
Yeah.
It kind of it cuts to the bouncer outside, and everybody's going in, and the girls get in for free, and the boys are charged money. And we see a guy in a red cap lurking across the street, and you go, okay, something's going to happen with that dude later.
Boombox boy, yeah.
Yeah, something certainly does. But the party gets going, and it's they're getting jiggy with it, right? That plays. That's it's not Will Smith's version, but getting jiggy with it. I don't know if it's actually called Getting Jiggy with It. The original, probably not. But
no, it's not.
No, that's they all start, and it's pretty much just a music fest, and just the movement of bodies, and the music going through them, and the whole Lovers Rock.
There's a whole heap of gyrating and grinding and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, and then it's actually the kung fu fighting scene was actually really cool.
Very funny. I thought I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun. It's like a whole. It pretty much plays nearly the entire song, and they're doing all the movements in this small living room, and yeah, it's fun, and it shows you the joyfulness that that music was giving them, because you know back then you're waiting for the radio station to play a song, hopefully that it's
Yeah,
one you like.
I enjoyed as well. You know, it's kind of a like, because lovers rock is defined as romantic reggae. People going to a lovers rock party, you're going to, well, score, if you will. You're trying to hook up. I liked the cut and thrust of the attempts and the knockbacks.
Yeah,
There's some cutting knockbacks in it. I really enjoyed that.
the dance of the partnering up, you know, surrounding the actual dancing. It actually reminded me of there's a dance in Billy Brennan's Barn Tonight, that poem, the Irish poem, because
Yeah.
people go by in twos and threes. That lyric, that line from that poem, and it's very much like people getting partnering up, and then you see the people on the outskirts.
Just better, way better music, let's be honest.
Yeah, true. Yeah, but the same sort of release, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, you like, and what you alluded to there, there's a lot of verbal dancing as well as real dancing. You know, a little like sword fighting, you know, jousting about, you know, the courting sort of process, I guess, for want of a better phrase. It cuts between like people in there dancing, and then there's a little place outside the back where they're having some joints, smoking, and food eating, and it's a whole big vibe and.
Crystal Met Speed, you mean?
No,
not at all.
just a Mary Jane. I think what you mentioned earlier. There's a big, massive scene where they're playing a song, and there's a real. I think this is one of the major scenes where people are just pairing up, and like that happens quite succinctly and obviously, and you know, there's a close up of hands grabbing. Around the body and just very sort of
elbows touched.
Yeah. And the red dress, the Bertie girl gets mad because she's on the outskirts of it then.
Yeah.
And the our main actress Martha, or main girl Martha, there's this smarmy guy with the massive.
I have him written down as the creepy lad with the hat.
The smarmy guy with a hat I got. Anyway, he's really obnoxious, and he tries to get in with Martha, but Martha's already found a little dude and
hooked up with Franklin, who seems like he's got a gift of the gab, but he seems like a reasonable bloke, unlike creepy lad with the hat / smarmy guy.
Yeah, he was played very well, that smarmy guy. He had the face of a smarmy guy. Yeah, so Martha's friend legs it because, you know, she's seen Martha score, as you put it, and Martha tries to run after her in the street, and that's when the four white racists are in the street. And
that was quite a bit of a segue into, you know, from a night out story to we'll slap in some pretty severe racism.
Yeah.
Like the noises the guys were making clearly intended to intimidate, but the old Scarp are smartish though, when the bouncer guy, who's huge. Basically, tells him to jog on.
Yeah, I think it, obviously Mr. McQueen was probably just, you know, setting a small scenario around the actual microcosm that is the dance, the Lovers Rock session, basically. I think we go in then to that major lengthy scene where the song called "Silly Games" that I've never heard of before, but it's stuck in my head now because that's quite cool. It's quite a good song.
Nice song, but you know, if it's on repeat for 10 minutes, it's going to be with you for the rest of your life now.
It's
quite a good scene, wasn't it? Like there's energy, there's fun, there's a lot of fun. It's kind of a little break as well from everybody pairing off, where they just forget about that whole thing and they just go into the music, and they're all singing, and they're all laughing and enjoying themselves and dancing. Like it's quite a beautifully happy scene. Like, you know, it's quite simple.
Yeah, and I quite like the technical aspect of it when they actually turn the music off, and you can hear the singing, but you also hear the shuffling feet.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like an intimate moment shared in this little small room between everybody.
So this is where the Foley artist got the feet thing right.
Feature sounded good to me. Yeah, they passed the test there. Well, I wouldn't expect anything less from Steve McQueen's directed movie. I wonder, I wrote down, is Silly Games a reflection on the relationship sort of experience that's happening that night? I wonder, because...
Probably, actually. It's quite apt.
Yeah, because Smarmy Guy and Red Dress get together, and...
That's very important that's after Martha knocks Smarmy/creepy guy back, and he attempts to go into the toilet when she's in there, and obviously she kicks him out and says, "Jog on, buddy." But exactly. He's quite forceful.
Yeah, so he partners up during Silly Games with Birthday Girl. Martha's cousin is presented as the guy with the red hat who barges in. He's quite an angry fella, but he gets in anyway. But then Martha heads out and hears some yelling in the background, and Smarmy Guy is trying to assault Birthday Girl, and he gets told what for by Martha, and he's
quite a nice
scene. Back in the house.
She pulled a knife on him, or she picks one off the floor, which was quite handily there. Sticks it to his throat and tells the girl, "Get in behind me."
Yeah, well done, Martha.
Yeah, she's hardcore. Fair play.
Smarmy boy. He's allowed back in the house. It's weird. You see him back dancing. Yeah, like, get him out of there.
Yeah, and he's angry for a little bit. He's clearly angry. He's having a beer, but he forgets all about it, and nobody's really annoyed by him. I suppose there's only 2-3 people who know what he's done. But I think that's an important piece to it, though. It's not everything's always great, even at a party. There's always a
chance. There's a bit of tension.
Yeah, a bit of tension. Things aren't great sometimes. It's more realistic.
Yeah. The dance floor is tense, and I thought Smarmy Boy and Red Hat Boy would be going at each other, and I thought
that's exactly what I had assumed, because I thought, here's 2 guys on edge. Yeah, this is going to be a big fight.
Yeah,
didn't happen.
But Red Hat guy can dig a groove. He can do some rapping over the.
He was pretty good, actually. Yeah,
it was good. Yeah, and he was busting a move too. Like his dance moves were pretty good. Everybody was happy with him then. So that's pretty much the end of the Lovers Rock party, because then it basically goes to the bike ride home with Martha and her beau, and he brings her into the repair shop, and the white boss comes in and tells him, "Oh, you don't treat this like a
knocking shop."
Knocking shop. I think that's exactly the words.
It's a great phrase.
Yeah.
But actually, to speak again of a little bit of tiny. This guy didn't seem too racist, but he did use the phrase "you guys," kind of derogatorily. Possibly not as bad as it could have been, but yeah, it just adds to the background of the tensions of the time.
Yeah, true. Yeah, what else? She basically gets home, as I described earlier. She sneaks in through the window and get up. Time for church happens, and she kind of smiles and gets up, and it's over.
The end.
Yeah, so I think obviously it's a strange movie to review under the plot category, because the plot is quite weak. It's not the strongest part of the story. Could you have done something in 68 minutes? Obviously, I'm not as creative as Steve McQueen, but I think his modus operandi was to make a layered textual homage to Lovers Rock music.
A bit of Googling about where he got his motivation for this one is his Aunt Molly, who basically lived this during the 80s. So he tapped her for information on it. So it's basically her life. She's basically Martha.
Oh, yeah. Cool. That's good to know. And it's
so I guess, because it's personal experience doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be all that entertaining. But that said, the texture of it is very vivid.
Yeah, and I'm going to give it a 2 for plot. The plot would be I'd mark it down less than that if the texture of the movie wasn't as good as it was. You know, I could give it a 1, but I'm going to give it higher marks in other areas, just to sort of.
I'm afraid I went with a 1. And that's not to say I didn't enjoy this. It's just the other areas, parts of this movie, the other sections are highly scored, but there is no plot, as you said earlier. It's a short movie about a night, and it's more about the feeling of it than it is about a plot, in my mind.
Yeah, and that's fine, and that's why we categorize things, just to segregate the different sections out. Acting, I thought, was quite good. I gave it 2.5. I think the main actors did a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's a large range that they had to cover, but what they did do was done very well.
Yeah, so I just went middle of the road 2.5. Like, nothing crazy stood out to me. I think Smarmy Boy was well played.
He was very good. I thought Martha was very good as well, as was Frankie Boy and Martha's cousin. Thought they were all very good.
Yeah, and the DJ guys were fun as well.
They were.
Yeah. So what did you give it for acting?
2.5 as well.
Yeah. Like soundtrack, I think there's some. I think it drives the movie, obviously, and there's a lot of. I'm very happy that I'd never heard of lovers rock genre before, and it's pretty good to get some more knowledge about other music things that I would never listen to. I gave it 4 out of 5. I thought the soundtrack was the heart and soul of the movie, and it pretty much drove it home. So I think if the music was in another movie, I wouldn't give it so much. I wouldn't give it so high a mark. But because it's the principal driver of the movie, then I feel that a more weighty.
It feels like it's one of the main characters of the movie. It's very important to the story.
Yeah. What did you give it?
I wasn't as well. I gave 3.5. And I only knocked it down because of 2 songs that went on overly long. The first being, as you said, Silly Games. Well, I actually liked the song when it started. I didn't like it after 10 minutes. And the same then for, what was it? The Mercury Sound. This is the Mercury Sound over and over again for 6 weeks. Near the end of the movie was a bit much.
Oh yeah. I remember that now. Yeah, that's fine. I think production was obviously very slick. I thought there was like an orange dot sort of floating in the camera a lot, and I think it was on purpose. It happens at the start of the movie.
Have you got glaucoma?
No, I've got other issues with my eyes, but not glaucoma. No, it happens at the start, and then I saw it at the end as well, and it sort of mirrors. There's an orange light bulb hanging around the DJ's neck near the end as well. It sort of mirrors that, and I just wonder. I didn't look it up or anything, but I don't know if it's intentional or not. But anyway, other than that, I thought it was very rich with 70s vibes, and I thought it was delivered very well. And
production was very good. Like, there's no question about that. I personally went with a 4 on that. I don't know how you feel about it.
Yeah, I get 3.5. I was just, it's well done. Slickly oiled lovers rock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Slippy rock.
So that was good to jump into there. Sorry everybody if you were waiting for a review of Past Lives, but we will get to that whenever it is released. I believe maybe in another month or so, perhaps that might happen.
That can be a bonus episode.
Yeah, we'll figure that one out when we get to it. Oh, let me just read out a couple of reviews here. That everything's pretty high. Slash Films gave it 70 out of 100. It's the lowest one on Metacritic. It says, clocking in at a little over an hour, Lovers Rock is naturally a little lean, limited by its one-night premise and its brief sojourn into these characters' lives, but it's a tone poem that feels at once a love letter to the style of reggae music, which it's named after, and to the people who danced and fell in love to that music in 80s London.
That's a very good definition of what this is.
Yeah, and then... everybody, a lot of people give it 100, but the New York Times is top of the list here with 100 out of 100. Electric and alive, as few films are, Lover's Rock will make you giddy with longing for a pleasure we've been too long denied, the singular rush of being one with a beat and a room full of possibilities. Sort of made me
bit of a stretch.
Sort of made me remember of us
back in the day. Yeah.
Back in the day in that
Rockefellers, yeah. It is exactly like when the lads are going mental near the end of it.
Yeah.
And they're losing themselves to the beat. I remember that. Different music, but it's same effect. And it's very real. And it was very nostalgic to me as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that I really don't do it. Like, I obviously don't experience that anymore unless I go to a concert and...
You're too old, buddy. You're too old.
Yeah, unless I'm brave enough to go up front. Like, the last time I went up front probably was Fate No More 10 years ago, whatever, and I was scared.
All these young whippersnappers.
Yeah. Just a couple of 6 out of 10 user reviews. That's because it kind of mirrors what we're saying. Tropic Aces says, great atmosphere and music, but the aimless plot holds it back. Makes you miss going to parties and meeting new people more than anything.
Perfect.
It's really good. J Lewis _001 gave it 6 out of 10. He says, it doesn't really say much. It just captures a moment. It was good, but it just felt lesser. So,
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah, I think that's the main vibe that we get. Yeah. So our next episode will be a recap of the last movies from episode 12 to episode 20. So we won't roll for a random movie. That'll happen at the end of our recap episode, which will come out next week. So that is the end of episode 20, and we'll see you on the recap episode 21. Bye-bye.
Later.